Hey beauties, good afternoon to you. So, I stopped off at the barber to do my eyebrows. And there was this man, he was finishing up, getting a haircut and a shave. And he was talking with the barber. He sounds fairly intelligent, spoke fairly intelligent as well. And he was saying to the barber that he went to a particular business place, an organization. And he said he got no acknowledgement. No one acknowledged him. No matter how much he tried to get the attention of whomever it is that he wanted to do business with, no one. He said down to the very security guard ignored him. And by his summarization, he's saying that on the basis of his looks and his dress code. He seemed quite simple in his dress code. You don't generally find men dressing flamboyant, but you know what I mean. And okay, he may not be the Denzel in the heyday. He may not be the Denzel Washington, but you would look at him and say he's dastardly ugly or anything like that. But I mean, just ordinary looking. And I thought to myself, especially here in the Western Hemisphere, in this country, Jamaica predominantly. I'm not saying it is not elsewhere, but I find countries that were colonized, there's something that was colonized in our minds, dress code. That it's twofold actually. If you dress poorly and you don't necessarily look like Denzel in his heyday or Lisa Hanna or Halle Berry sort of a situation, then you're not necessarily treated with regard and respect. In fact, you're probably not even hired. What is hired to do the job is beauty and looks, beauty and dress code. So dress code is carrying out the duties, the responsibilities and tasks that the job does not require. The job requires skills, talents, abilities, competencies, and wit. And what has happened is that a lot of employers, they just look, as the Bible says, I tell you, the Bible is a blueprint for life. Man looks at the outward appearance, but God looks at the heart. The employer doesn't really necessarily look at the skills. I'm not saying they don't entirely, but what ends up happening is that your profile, so as you walk into the room, they look, let me look at how that person looks. I wonder if that person has a face for the front. No, that person favor Miss Piggy. That one look like a big bullfrog. I kid you not, beautiful people. I never forgot a lady called me once, and this is an elderly lady in her 80s, and I thought it was something, of worth she was going to say to me, and she said, "Come here, lad. I heard that person, they're big, fat, black and ugly. Them just this, that." I was flabbergasted because I realized the minds have been colonized as well, to thinking that anything that you want, great, you have to go on the basis of the dress code and the look of the individual. Now, don't get me wrong. We coined this thing called cleanliness is next to godliness. I often believe that how somebody carries themselves on the outside, it can be a reflection of how they may handle whatever task or tasks that are given to them. It's not necessarily always the case, because I've seen people who look really shoddy, quite shoddy, quite shabby, may not be the best looking individual, and they're very, very gifted and talented, skilled. They're an expert in their area of speciality, very much so, many times over, and somebody may look very good on the outward, dress very well, and not necessarily do the job comprehensively with competency and skill and ability. And that is part and parcel, not the only reason why many companies in our country is failing and has failed, because what has happened is that you have hired the looks and the dress code to do the job, as opposed to hiring the competencies, the skills, the talents and abilities to do the job. And that's a big part and parcel of the problem, major part of what we are facing in our country, where productivity is low, at an all low, basically. The flip side is that, or notwithstanding, you do have people who dress very well, flamboyant, and they're ostracized, they're blackballed, rejected. A sense of divide and conquer is the order of the day towards them. They're bullied, psychologically, socially. Sometimes employers are jealous. The David and Salt saga is a real thing. because a person dresses well, they probably are competent, they look good, and it is they're blacklisted on the basis of dressing well. They're blacklisted on the basis of dressing good. I can tell you that from experience. Even with talent and competencies and skills and with the right attitude, and you've matriculated and gotten a pass in all of the areas that requires or that would constitute or comprise the individual being an outstanding worker, yet the employer, out of ill will, out of an evil mind, out of a bad mind, breaking the commandments. Remember, the Bible talks about do not be covetous. It's talking about being evil-minded and bad-minded. And they blacklist, as I say, and create contention, cause others to not like the individual, or if they may not hate them, but they kind of shun them, and because the other individuals don't want to lose their job, don't want to lose what they consider favor. It is not favor, it is sucking up to them, and trust me, in due course they will do the same to them. The person who dresses well and looks well is blacklisted. But it's so unfortunate. It's almost like you probably have to go find a middle ground. Try not look too good, or try not to look too shoddy, and try not dress too well, and try not dress too shabby, and maybe then you might find somewhat of a fake favor. I call it. It's not real. It is not real. It is only satisfying the person's whims and fancies and their own insecurities. I pray that employers will take a serious look at the folly that they're doing. You're not hiring the clothes to do your job. You're not hiring the looks to do your job. The looks, you can't carry the looks on the road, so to speak, or the clothes on the road, so to speak, to do the job. It is a mental ability, the mental prowess and skills, the level of sensibility and coherence and everything that is required to be an outstanding worker that is required. So even if the person wants to look like Miss Piggy, a bullfrog, a hippopotamus, olive oil from Popeye, whatever you want to say, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful by labeling anybody. It's just that you hear Jamaicans, and what I'm saying is mild compared to how I hear people describe people. It's mild compared to how I hear people describe people. So you understand what I'm talking about. And we as Jamaicans, we're very, very colorful with our words, and how when we're being descriptive of people, how they look and how they dress. It's almost an atrocity. If they could have been locked up, they would have been many, many times over. Many of us would have been locked up for how we are disrespectful in how we criticize people with our words, what we say about them, how we describe how they look. It's horrible, So my dear employers, what the guy said is really real. If you want productivity to go up, hire the competent one. If they so happen to have the looks and the dress code, then you work with it. I'm not saying that people must look shoddy and shabby for work. Clearly, I could not say something like that. For somebody who is into fashion and believe in looking really good and dressing the best you can, and carrying yourself with a level of classy, ladylike or gentlemanlike, as the case may be, nature and attitude and spirit as in attitude, I would say. So naturally, I couldn't be saying that you must, go to work looking any and every way or inappropriate ways. And inappropriate ways meaning it's not necessarily torn up clothes or tattered clothes. It could be you don't wear a bikini going to a corporate environment to work, obviously. It would be inappropriate. It doesn't stop you from being excellent at your job, because you can go to work tomorrow in a bikini and still do your job very well. You can go in a tattered and torn clothes and still do your job very well. But it's just that the eyes are, is the strongest senses, and it will obviously cause some distraction. And people may not necessarily perform the way they would want to at an optimal level. But what I'm simply saying is that we need to stop focusing so much on the dress code per se. Focus on competencies, skills, abilities, and the attitude, the behavior of people. When you're doing your interviewing, stop profiling people and say this one is that or that one. You may just be wrong. get to know people, ensure that they're able to do the job. They're teachable, because they obviously wouldn't know it. They're new to it. It doesn't matter how skilled they are. So you know, ensure that they're teachable and they have like the fruits of the Spirit, the beatitudes that Jesus spoke about on the mountain. Once you have those, you know, and the qualities and the skills and abilities, you're good to go. All right, guys, follow me on TikTok, subscribe to my YouTube channel, share this message.